What's going on, guys? Zuko back with another War Within video. Hope you're all doing very well. I hope you're ready to strap in for an awesome video. I'm going to go over all of the patch notes that are coming in 11.0.5, which drops on Tuesday. I'm going to go over every single spec and what's going on. I'm going to help you understand the major changes that are happening for each and every spec. I'm also going to rank them on a tier list based on the changes that are happening, and I'm going to give you the winners and the losers for who got the best changes going into 11.0.5 and who got the worst changes. And there also will be lots of specs that basically didn't see any changes or they're very minimal. So I'm going to go through all that for you, and we're going to rank them at the very end. Okay, so stay tuned for that later. Okay, let's start with Death Knights. The major thing happening for Death Knights is the changes to Deathbringer. So I would say on the whole, it's getting basically a neutral treatment, or it's going to be a good treatment for Deathbringer. So if you're playing Frost DK or Blood DK, you're going to be running the Deathbringer tree for the most part, and this is going to affect you. So the major changes is that Painful Death is now gone as a choice node here, and they just baked it into Exterminate. So you're going to get that extra sweep of Exterminate, and then they've moved the Reaper's Onslaught, which is the 15-second cooldown on Reaper's Mark. They moved that over to the middle here. So they've kind of shuffled some stuff around. There's a couple of other shuffles that have happened on the tree. That's the major change, I would say. I would say it's a bit of a buff to Deathbringer or a slight neutral change with all these notes here. Okay, they've also removed things like Swift End, Painful Death. Again, they baked Painful Death right in there. Blood DK, Sand Lane's gotten a little bit better with Dancing and Rune Weapon, but honestly, we'll have to see how Sand Lane plays out. Blood DKs have been trying Sand Lane right now, actually, because it got buffed in the last patch, so we'll have to see moving forward. The entire hero tree for Sand Lane procs off of Dancing Rune Weapon now, instead of from Vampiric Blood. I think that's a bad change, personally, but that's already in the game right now. That's not, that's what will be coming, and I don't know. We'll have to see how it kind of goes. I do think it's a bad idea. I like when it was proccing from Vamp Blood. Doesn't really matter. It's kind of a neutral change, to be honest. Demon Hunter. Havoc Demon Hunter literally has nothing going on in this patch. Vengeance Demon Hunter might be getting some weird modifications to Metamorphosis. So it says meta now heals you for 40% of your maximum health instead of modifying your health directly. Now, I don't know what that means, and I would love for any DHs to tell me what this means, because this to me makes it sound like you're not going to gain maximum health anymore from popping meta, but that can't be true. I just don't, there's no way that can be true, so I don't know what this means. You are going to get a bunch of extra healing, apparently, so it says it cleans up some edge cases for meta. Activating it while in demon form would sometimes not heal you. They're trying to make it so that you're guaranteed to get a heal whenever you pop meta, which is good. That's a good thing. But it makes it sound like you're losing the max health, but I don't think that's true. But correct me if I'm wrong in the comments down below. That's literally it for Demon Hunter, nothing for Havoc. Druid. There's a lot of Druid changes going on here. Balanced Druid in particular is getting a ton of buffs across the board. Lots of really good stuff happening to their talent tree. So for example, like Twin Moons is moving way up to the top of the tree here. And Nature's Grace is up at the top here as well, which is really good. You're getting an extra buff here for your CA, which is that you can get Whirling Stars now, which makes the cooldown of Celestial Alignment 100 seconds, which is a minute and 40 seconds. You can further bring that down if you're taking the Keeper of the Grove tree. It gives you 10 more seconds off the cooldown of Whirling Stars. So that means your Celestial Alignment would be a minute and a half in terms of its cooldown. It would have 2 charges, but its duration would go down a little bit. So instead of 15 seconds, it's 12 seconds. So 2 charges of a minute and a half CA for a 12-second duration. That's pretty good. So a lot of changes for Balanced Druid. There's a new small emphasis on dots with the mushroom stuff coming in. You can get passive mushrooms from your Sunfire, which is really good. That could move more towards the periodic effects over time kind of build with Moonfire, Sunfire, mushrooms, and then the burn coming in from Languish. Like, is it down here somewhere? Is it? And there's the smolder. Yeah, it's a smolder there. Sorry. So there could be a bunch of dot stuff going on for Boomkin. We'll have to wait and see. On the whole, they're getting a lot of buffs. Okay, that is something you need to understand. They're mostly getting a lot of buffs. There's some quality of life with talents that are getting removed. Starfall is now baseline, which is really, really great. bunch of cool things going on there. Okay. Now, let's move on to Resto Druid. They're also getting some changes. I would say there's some good changes coming on here for Resto Druid. It's just a bunch of like new talents that are a little underwhelming in my opinion. So we'll have to wait and see how they kind of look. There's this, like, consuming clear casting causes your regrowth to also cast a nourish. I'm not sure how good that's actually going to be. Swift Men gets cooldown based on your target's health, so the lower they are, the more cooldown reduction you get on Swift Men. Like, I would just rather have flat cooldown reduction on Swift Men. Just give me 3 or 4 seconds off the cooldown of Swift Men. So that one's kind of weird. You can get 2 charges of Nature Swiftness now. That is a good change, helping you with triage healing. So there's some good changes for Resto Druid, but it's not like amazing. Okay, it's not amazing. You do get Omen of Clarity baseline now, which is really good. That's the thing that has a chance to make regrowth free and castable in all forms, whatever, right? So that's good as well. But some good changes, not amazing, okay? In terms of Feral Druid and Bear, there's literally nothing for Druid. So Guardian and Feral got no changes at all. Evoker, small amounts of changes for Evoker. We're looking at mostly class tree changes to their class abilities like Tail Swipe, because a bunch of other specs can now be Drakthir. So the Drakthir Evokers had to get some changes, modifications to their class tree abilities. So nothing serious going on for Evoker at all for any of the specs. Basically no changes. Hunter, there are some massive changes coming for Hunter, okay? Dark Ranger is here. It is really good. I've tried it on the PTR. It feels better. It synergizes with Killshot now. Instead of giving you an extra black arrow button, it's actually just replaces Killshot, and it synergizes with all of the Killshot nodes on your tree, which is a really, really good thing for Marksman Hunter, in my opinion, because you've got things like Improved Death Blow, which is the new mechanic for all hunters. They all have Death Blow now, so they all have a chance in the class tree to reset the cooldown of their kill shot, which is really, really good. And then you can further index into kill shot talents like killer accuracy and then razor fragments for Marksman Hunter in particular. Very, very good synergy going on now with the Dark Ranger tree. So for BM Hunter, they have a little bit less synergy, but it's still better than it was. Much, much better than it was. You have these really cool Shadow Hounds now, which were there before, but they synergize with like your beasts for BM Hunter. So there's some really great stuff going on with Dark Ranger. This is definitely a winner, I would say. I'll show you at the end with the tier list, but lots of great things happening with that. When it comes to Beastmaster, as I said, BM is getting a whole bunch of changes to Cobra Shot, and I'm not sure if this is actually good or not. So let me know if you're a BM hunter. There are tons of changes coming to Cobra Shot. There's like Cobra Senses got redesigned. There's Barb Scales, which makes Cobra Shot reduce the cooldown of Barb Shot. There's Serpentine Rhythm, Cobra Shot increasing your damage. Like, they just went really hard on Cobra Shot, which I'm not sure if that's actually a good thing. Most BM hunters don't press Cobra Shot that much unless you're in a single target situation, I guess. So maybe it's good there. They also changed the functionality of Barb Shot. So Barb Shot now has a longer cooldown. It's an 18-second cooldown now. It was 12. Nothing has really changed here. All the buffs you get, like the Frenzy buff that you get and the Barb Shot bleed, they've all been increased as well to accommodate the fact that you're pressing Barbed Shot less often now. There's a greater window of time that you have between Barb Shots now, which I think is good overall gameplay for BM hunters. So like, instead of pressing a Barb Shot like every 3 or 4 seconds, you only have to press it every 5 or 6, maybe every 7 seconds now to maintain the frenzy stacks for your pets. So that means you can fit other abilities inside that window now, rather than it being like Barb Shot, you know, multi-shot, kill command, Barb Shot, you know, multi-shot, kill command, Barb Shot. You can fit other things in there. So I'm interested to see how this kind of works out, this whole increase. I'd love to hear what you guys think about it. But generally speaking, buffs to BM Hunter, which is really good. Talked about Marksman Hunter. Survival Hunter is getting a slew of buffs, in my opinion, mostly aimed around, I would say, Pack Leader. Pack Leader's getting 20% Wildfire Bomb, 20% Mongoose Bite damage, which is disgustingly strong, and they're getting a rework on Butchery. Butchery is just got a 15-second recharge. It's got 1 charge now instead of 3, so you're less GCD locked on Survival Hunter, which is fantastic. And you get a new bleed from Merciless Blows, which might combo really, really well with Pack Leader, with Call to Herd, giving you additional bleed amplification whenever you kill shot stuff. So you kill shot and then you press Butchery and your new bleed will be even better. So there's a bunch of good things going on here for Survival Hunter. Fury of the Eagle got reworked a little bit. They baked in some of the Ruthless Marauder into the main talent, and then they reworked Ruthless Marauder. It's looking good, I would say, for Survival Hunter, in my opinion, particularly with Pack Leader. They did slightly buff Sentinel to account for the fact that you're not spamming Butchery anymore. They buffed the Symbiotic Arsenal to be very strong, 200% damage instead of 90 whenever you press your Butchery, because of course Butchery only has one charge now. But basically, bleed build, Pack Leader, it's very good for Survival Hunter. Okay, let's move on to Mage. Mage is a bit of a mixed bag. So Arcane is getting nerfed a little bit. In particular, Spellslinger is getting kicked in the teeth, basically, this patch. And they made a little note about it to basically say, adjustments to arcane talents and frost updates to Splinter Storm have reduced the power of Spellslinger considerably. We are aware of these issues and will continue to make changes as necessary. So they've made some changes to the Arcane Mage tree, which have been nerfs essentially for Arcane Mage. And then it has Giga nerfed Spellslinger for Arcane Mage. Spellslinger for Frost has also been nerfed slightly, but Frost has received other updates that I think are actually a bit of a buff there. So, bit of a mixed bag there. The Frostfire tree in general has been buffed. Frostfire Burst, 25%. Frostfire Infusion, 50%. So, really, really good. You no longer proc Living Bomb from the Frostfire tree, which is maybe a bad thing for some people. We'll have to wait and see it. Definitely, you're not going to get as many Living Bomb procs, which is definitely worse for Fire Mage. But Fire Mage has been changed a little bit as well. There's some more synergy with Flame Strike, with Mastery of the Majesty of the Phoenix, which is interesting. Some more quality of life for Scorch, where Heat Shimmer can once again trigger Scorch, which is really good. All ability damage is going down by 3%, but then they're buffing things like Lit Fuse and the damage that Living Bomb gets by 50% from Explosive Ingenuity. So I would say there's some neutral changes happening for Fire Mage. There's definitely a little bit of a loss, but there's some buffs elsewhere. So it's kind of like the scale is balancing out a little bit on Fire. Generally speaking, I would say Arcane got nerfed. Frost and Fire are a little bit more neutral in terms of what's happening to them, okay? That's the overall for Mage. Let's talk about Monk. So Shadowpan is getting buffed. The damage of Flurry Strikes is going down, but the trigger threshold is also going down. So you're going to proc Flurry Strikes more often, but they're going to do a little bit less damage. But you're going to be proccing them a lot more often, which is absolutely the direction that they should have gone with this tree. You want your hero talent tree to be more visible more often. I think that's way, way more fun. So that's a good thing as well. Okay, Mistweaver getting a whole bunch of talent changes here. Let's swip over to Mistweaver here. So we've got some big synergy with Master of Harmony, in my opinion, where you get 2 charges of Thunder Focus Tea, and you're going to get a new Jade Empowerment. Crackling Jade Lightning is now going to heal allies based on the damage it deals, and it's now going to chain to different enemies and do 800% more damage after you cast Thunder Focus Tea. So once again, you get 2 charges of Thunder Focus Tea from Master of Harmony, you get more uptime on Thunder Focus Tea, you get more uptime on Jade Empowerment. It can be a brand new cooldown for Mistweaver when it comes to healing people. They consolidated the Jadefire Stomp talents so that it's less cumbersome, and you now have 1 extra talent to take because they got rid of 1. So in Mythic Plus, this is a big deal, having an extra talent that you can use in the bottom row on whatever you want. There's a new talent called Rushing Wind Kick, which replaces Rising Sun Kick and does AoE damage in a cone in front of you. It also makes your Renewing Mists do a bunch of extra healing. This replaces Rising Sun Kick. Now, I haven't been able to get on the PTR to test if the synergies work with this. Like, if you press Thunder Focus Tea, can you press Rushing Wind Kick, and then it goes on like a 3-second cooldown, and then Rushing Wind Kick again, and then and then I'm assuming you will be able to do that, which again synergizes very, very well with Master of Harmony, giving you an extra Thunder Focus Tea charge. So we're gonna have to wait and see how this all kind of works out. Generally speaking, though, buffs for Mistweaver, lots of exciting new talents, some consolidation of talents, sorry, where they got rid of Nourishing Chi and Ancient Concordance, which frees up talents for you to pick here, okay? Very, very good there. Windwalker got some small buffs. Blackout Kick damage, Flurry of Zwen damage. That's about it, okay? There are more buffs, in my opinion, for Windwalker because of Shadow Pan being buffed. So overall, Windwalker has gone up a little bit and is like a slight winner, if you want to put it that way, okay? Paladin. Let's switch to Paladin. Lots of buffs for Paladin. Tons of buffs here for Paladin. Like, it's massive. The entire class tree got reworked. I don't know if you've seen it, but there's some massive changes coming in for Paladin here. All 3 specs have had a big rework. Huge quality of life on the class tree. Lots of really interesting new talents, like allies are healed when you put a blessing on them. For Holy Pally, you could put you can put your Blessing of Summer on somebody every like 40 seconds or whatever, and you'll get a heal on them, which is kind of cool. Light Bearer seems really good for Prot Pally. There's some really cool stuff going on here for Paladin, and I would say in generally speaking, it's a win across the board on the class tree. Also, every Paladin spec basically got WOG bonus and Shield of the Righteous bonus, which is the most important, I would say, for Prot Pally. They got WOG healing by 20%, Shield of the Righteous damage by 20%. So big stonks for Prot Pally, and then Holy Pally got more healing and damage. Rep Paladin, this doesn't really matter because you're not going to WOG yourself or shield yourself. Like, you don't even use a shield. So you're going to WOG yourself sometimes, but it's less important for Rep Paladin. Either way, Paladin looking very, very, very good, okay, on the whole. Priest didn't get very many changes at all. We're talking about some quality of life for Archon, where your Apotheosis Dark Ascension Void Form will get paused if you're CC'd or if you're out of combat for 20 seconds, which is great. That means that you can pop your cooldown halfway through a pack, and then if the pack dies, your cooldown will stay with you until you get to the next pack, and then you can use the rest of your cooldown that you have left, which is a very, very good quality of life in my opinion. Otherwise, there's no real changes for Priest. Rogue actually got quite a few changes as well. The class tree saw some updates to things like Echoing Reprimand, which is now basically just the supercharger mechanic is now right there. You don't even have to take Echoing Reprimand to get supercharged combo points. They've made this entire middle row all about supercharging your combo points, and it's actually very cool. That's the main thing happening on the class side of things. When it comes to the hero talents, the ability to proc an edge on your coin flip where it gives you both heads and tails is much higher actually now, and it's more consistent, where if you activate Death Mark or Adrenaline Rush, you will get an edge case coin flip guaranteed right then, rather than it being after you use a finishing move. So nice little there. Coup de grace from Trickster no longer locks up your character model. It no longer makes you like stand still and like perform the coup de grace and not be able to control your character for a second. It is amazing that they finally changed this. It took them way too long, but they finally changed coup de grace to work correctly, which is amazing in my opinion. That's the main stuff for the hero talents there. Assassination, I would say Master Assassin is now going to be lasting for 6 seconds instead of 3, which I think is actually a really, really big deal in my opinion. So that's over here. Over here. Critical strike chance increased by 25% when stealth, and for 6 seconds after breaking stealth, not 3 seconds. That's a long time to get 25% more crit. So that's a huge boost in my opinion. For Outlaw Rogue, Crack Shot, another quality of life is that Crack Shot is now going to get reset when you enter stealth. It'll refresh the cooldown of Between the Eyes. So right now, sometimes you would have to try and get your Between the Eyes off cooldown, then press Vanish and go into your Crack Shot window. You don't have to do that anymore. As soon as you enter stealth, it gives you your Between the Eyes back. So you can actually pop Between the Eyes before going into your Crack Shot window in stealth, which is very strong because you're going to get Between the Eyes back again. So fantastic quality of life in my opinion. I hate the play style. I hate it. I hate that Outlaw Rogue has to stealth, but they've really made it a better quality of life there, which is fantastic, okay? Some Blade Flurry quality of life stuff going on as well for Outlaw Rogue. When it comes to Sub Rogue, one of the biggest changes ever for the spec, I think, has coming in this patch, and that is that Death Perception is now a new talent down here. Symbol of Death now gains 2 additional charges if you put 2 points into this. So that means your Symbols of Death has 3 charges, which is incredible in my opinion. And you still get cooldown reduction, or no, you get the extension on your Symbols of Death from inevitability. So your Symbols of Death uptime is probably going to be insane now, I would say. To me, it feels like you're going to have this ability up basically all the time, which gives you 40 energy and increases your damage done by 10%. So very, very good for Sub Rogue. I think that's a massive change that is very, very good. They also changed the first dance, and I want to hear what you guys think about this. Remaining out of combat for 6 seconds increases the duration of your next shadow dance by 4 seconds. I'm not sure how much you're actually going to be able to stay out of combat for 6 seconds. Like in Mythic Plus, this is virtually impossible, in my opinion. So I'm not really sure why they did this. Like, the uptime on this, I think, is going to be really low. In a raid, you literally have no uptime at all on this. So I'm a little worried about this talent, but it's an interesting choice that they're making. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Let's move on to Shaman. Excuse me. Let's move on to Shaman. Shaman has received probably some of the biggest changes of any class in the entire game. There are just pages and pages and pages of Elemental and Enhancement Shaman, and a little bit on Resto as well. Let me sum it up for you. Enhancement Shaman is great. There's been some really good changes. The totemic build is definitely going to be back, I would say. There are massive buffs to Ascendance. It's now a 2-minute cooldown instead of a 3-minute cooldown if you want it to be, which is really, really, really good. That works well with the Stormbringer tree. Your Deeply Rooted now lasts 8 seconds instead of 6 seconds. You can have passive wolves now, which relieves the GCD pressure of having to press wolves every 20 to 30 seconds, which I think is fantastic. Flowing Spirits is going to be, I think, a mandatory talent for almost every single build. You have Voltaic Blaze now, which helps you to spread flame shocks. This is a particularly good if you're running the Stormbringer tree, where you don't ever really want to press Lava Lash to spread your flame shocks around. You just get it for free now from Voltaic Blaze. So incredibly good talent changes going on here, in my opinion, for both a totemic build and the Stormbringer build. When it comes to Ellie Shaman, I think they're probably one of the losers of this patch. I think there's a complete rework going on here, by the way, for the talent tree. Once again, they got rid of the Flash of Lightning cooldown reduction, which is incredibly sad, incredibly frustrating. Basically nuked the Farseer build into the ground because it relied on the cooldown reduction big time. Fire Elemental is kind of a useless cooldown now compared to Storm Elemental. Like, it's literally dead compared to Storm Elemental. There's some good things about the Ellie tree. Stormbringer's way up here at the top. Ascendance is a real cooldown that you can use now, and it's very, very good. And it focuses on your overloads, which is fantastic. There's a new lightning rod tech in the bottom here, which is really good as well. So I don't want to detract from the good things that are happening here, but there's also a bunch of really bad talents. Like Flash of Lightning is bad now. Fire Elemental is bad now. Erupting Lava is bad now. There really isn't a good fire build for Ellie Shaman anymore, in my opinion. It's actually kind of dead in the water. Deeply Rooted, the proc chance on Deeply Rooted is still 7%, even though it procs off of our spenders now instead of our generators. So it's like just objectively way worse now. Unless they buff the proc chance to like 25%, this is really bad, in my opinion. So it's a mixed bag for Ellie Shaman. On the whole, I would say they are one of the losers of this patch for sure. For sure. Resto Shaman has got some new talents to actually play around with, which is really good. I think the Farseer Resto Shaman build has just gotten better straight up because of this new talent, Coalescing Water. Reduces the cost of Chain Heal, and then it buffs your next Riptide. You're casting a lot of Riptides with the Farseer build. I think this is a fantastic new addition to their tree, which is really good. And then there's some high tide quality of life. So lots of changes for Shaman. Ellie's kind of in the dumps, in my opinion. Enhance is eating really well, and Resto's looking good as well, okay? That's Shaman there. We'll get to Warlock. Basically, there isn't a lot of changes for Warlock except for the Destro plus Diabolist combo. Diabolic Ritual kind of got redesigned or updated here. So you have a chance to get a Diabolic Ritual for 20 seconds. If Diabolic Ritual is already active, you'll actually reduce its duration by 1 second, because remember, you're always trying to get the Diabolic Ritual down to 0 seconds so that it spawns your next minion. So that's a good quality of life change right there. Basically, Blizzard is saying that they're adjusting Diabolic Ritual to avoid the situation where casting Rain of Fire as a Destro lock is the only thing that you do over and over and over and over again. And I think that that is good for them to change. So Destro lock is kind of maybe going down a little bit. Demo Lock, I think, is probably like a net neutral here or a small gain. And then Affliction Lock didn't get touched at all. Okay. Warrior, last spec here. Basically, what's happening here is Colossus is getting buffed, Slayer is getting nerfed across the board, and then for Fury Warrior, their baseline abilities of Bloodthirst and Raging Blow are going up by 25 and 30%. And the reason is because Reckless Abandon is basically way too strong. They're trying to incentivize you to take anger management. So Raging Blow and Bloodthirst damage are up baseline. This does not affect the Reckless Abandon, Crushing Blow, or Bloodbath. So if you don't take Reckless Abandon, your Raging Blow and Bloodthirst are buffed big time. So we'll have to see if this actually forces warriors to go towards the anger management talent instead of Reckless Abandon. Okay, that's the summary for all of the different specs, and now we're going to do the tier list here. Okay, so let's just dive right into this. I'm going to throw these up at the top. I'm going to put the winners and the losers. I've got some good changes here. We got the neutral changes, and then we've got no changes at all, which is definitely some of the specs here. So when we're looking at Blood DK and Frost DK, I would say that there's definitely some good changes. Remember all the Deathbringer stuff that we talked about? Those are, I would say, on the whole, they're either a neutral change or I'm going to say they're a slight good change, a buff, I would say, to Blood and Frost DK. So they're looking good. Unholy got no changes at all. So it doesn't necessarily mean that Unholy DK is going to be bad. I'm just telling you with respect to the changes that are happening in 11.0.5, Unholy basically got none at all. Okay. In terms of the Demon Hunters, Havoc DH got no changes, and Vengeance DH, I would say, got some neutral changes. We'll have to see. They're getting extra healing now from the Metamorphosis, but I'm not sure if they're losing the maximum health that Metamorphosis gives you. I'm assuming they're not, but I would say it's either a good change or a neutral change. I don't really know, so I'm just going to say neutral for now, okay? Boomkin definitely got some really good changes, I would say. They're probably near the top, actually, of the good changes. They're close to being a winner. Bear got no changes at all. Feral got no changes at all, and Resto Druid got some good changes. Nowhere near as good as the Boomy changes, but the Resto did get some good changes there, okay? All the Evokers got no real changes at all. If we're talking honestly, they basically didn't get any changes at all, okay? Let's move on to Hunter. I would say all the Hunters, in my opinion, are winners. I think all of the Hunter changes are awesome. We're talking about Dark Ranger for Marksman Hunter and for BM Hunter, and then we're talking about the Bleed build. I would say it goes like this. The Bleed build for Survival Hunter is going to be amazing with Pack Leader. There's some really good changes going on here. All the Hunters got a massive amount of reworks this patch. If you're thinking about playing a Hunter, it's very exciting over there in the Hunter camp right now. Let's get to Mages. I think Arcane Mage is one of the losers of this patch for sure. I would say that Frost Mage actually got some good changes, and then Fire Mage, I think, got some neutral changes because Fire Mage lost some damage but gained some like AoE damage. So we'll have to see how that ends up working out on the whole. Okay, but Arcane is definitely the loser, one of the losers of this patch, in my opinion. Okay. Let's look at the Monk changes coming through here. Mistweaver definitely got some good changes. I would say it's closer to the top of the some good changes list. And Windwalker got some good changes as well. It's more in the middle, just some damage buffs and then some buffs to Shadowpan. And then basically there's no changes for Brewmaster. If you're playing Shadowpan Brewmaster, then there are some changes for you. But basically Brewmaster itself actually received no changes at all. So I'm just going to put it here. I'll put it higher up on the list because most Brewmasters are running Shadowpan. So I would say that they got, they definitely got some love there. We're going to move this way down here because they actually got no changes. Okay, let's move on to Paladin. I would say Holy Paladin basically got no changes. Prop Paladin, well, let's say some good changes because they did get the buff to WoG and to Shield of the Righteous. Prop Pally got some great changes to WoG and Shield of the Righteous, and Prop Pally also got some changes to the 1-point talent nodes on their tree. So I forgot to mention this earlier, but like Gift of the Golden Valkyr is actually looking really, really good for Prop Pally. I would say they're probably up here in the winner state, actually. Prop Pally looked really, really good, mostly because of the Gift of the Golden Valkyr changes there. Oh, yeah, I have it over here. Hold on. Let me bring this over here. So let me just show you really quickly. I forgot to mention this, and I should have mentioned it before, but Prop Pally, Gift of the Golden Duck here is now a 1-point talent, and Uther's Council is a 1-point talent as well. Where'd they move Uther's to? Uther. Oh, yeah, it's over there. So 1-point talents, these are massive. So I'm going to say this actually makes Prop Paladin a definite winner because of all the class tree changes as well. Really, really, really good stuff there. I think Holy Pally, I don't know that they're necessarily a winner. I think it's definitely some great changes in the class tree for them and then for them personally. And I'm going to put Rep Paladin there as well. Prop Pally is really the one that came out of the gates with the best changes. Even though all 3 of them got class tree changes, Prop Pally is looking the best, in my opinion, on the spec tree as well. And just the implications of what the class tree does for Prop Paladin in general. Okay, let's move on to Priest. Shadow Priest got, I would say, the 1 quality of life change, so we're going to put it up here. They're at the very bottom of the some good changes tier list here, but the fact that you can sustain your major cooldowns, whether if you get CC'd or if you go out of combat, that is a great quality of life change for Shadow Priest. Otherwise, there's no changes for Holy and no changes for Disc. Rogue, Outlaw Rogue got some good changes for sure because of the quality of life from Crack Shot and Blade Flurry. Sin Rogue got some great changes with Envenom, which I didn't totally talk about, but they got some good Envenom stacks. You can stack up 2 Envenoms on the target, so your poison application goes up to 60% instead of 30%. So that's good for Sin Rogue. And then also Master Assassin going up to 6 seconds, I think puts them way up here. That's a really, really good change. Having 6 seconds of 25% increased crit chance outside of stealth is just disgusting. So your opener is like way stronger now. It used to be 3 seconds. Now it's 6 seconds. So very, very good. I think Sub is actually a winner. I think the Symbols of Death getting 3 charges now, and then Sepsis and Invigorating Shadow Dust being gone from the tree are amazing. Also, the First Dance change might be good, and Shadow Blades went from a 2-minute cooldown to a 1.5-minute cooldown, which again, I think is very, very good. So Sub Rogue to me is definitely one of the winners. A little bit better than Outlaw and a little bit better than Sin Rogue, in my opinion. Let's get to Shaman. Ellie Shaman is one of the losers, in my opinion. I know that there's some good changes, like I said, with Ascendance being really, really awesome, but like Fire Ellie being dead, Farseer being dead, Flash of Lightning being a dead talent now, Erupting Lava is a bad talent, and then the Deeply Rooted proc rate still being 7%. I mean, I just can't say that this is a winner. It's got to be a loser, in my opinion, in this patch for sure. Enhancement Shaman, on the other hand, is a winner, and I think it's a big winner. I think Enhancement Shaman is going to be good with a Storm build, good for a Totemic build. Just lots of quality of life changes for Enhance. It's looking very, very strong. And then I think Resto got some good changes. So I think the Resto Shaman talent for Farseer is going to be quite strong. That's that for Shaman. Let's look at Warlock. We got Demo Warlock. I would say there's some good changes here. Oh, sorry, that's Demonology there. I would say that it's neutral, I would say, for Destrolock because they're gaining some Diabolic ritual changes, but then they're basically disincentivizing you from pressing Rain of Fire all the time, which that might have just been the best way to play it. They're pushing some power back into Chaos Bolt when it comes to the Diabolist tree, so like it's a bit of a net neutral gain, in my opinion, for Destrolock, but definitely Demolock got some good changes there. Then there's no changes for Affliction Warlock whatsoever. Then we got Warrior. Prot Warrior saw no changes at all. Fury, I would say, has got some neutral changes because you're getting buffs to Bloodthirst and Raging Blow without having Reckless Abandon. So are you going to take Anger Management now? I don't really know. Either way, I think it's like a neutral change for you. And then I would say Arms Warrior basically saw no changes at all, okay? There's some slight nerfs to the hero trees for Arms Warrior and Fury Warrior, but it's not enough to say that they're losers. Okay? There's your list, guys. There's the full list right there. The winners are definitely Enhancement Shaman, all the Hunters, Prop Pally, and then Sub Rogue. And then the losers are Arcane Mage and Ellie Shaman. If you're thinking of changing any of your specs, any of your classes this patch, this is what you're looking at in terms of winners and losers, and then everybody else kind of in between. And I hope I've done a good job of explaining to you my reasoning for each individual spec, and I hope this helps you guys pick whatever spec you're planning on playing. I know this was a really long video. I tried to go as quick as possible, but there were just so many patch notes to get through. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. I would love to hear from all of you down there. Thank you so much again for watching. I love you guys. I'll see you in the next one.